I'm Kathleen Murf+E, and welcome to Murf+E Unfiltered Zero BS Biz Talk. I'm here with my co-host, Eliot Grossman. How are you, Eliot?
What's going on, Murph? How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm hanging in there like most people these days.
All
And
we can do, Murph. Just keep it going.
very true. And besides trying to stay as positive as we can, I thought I'd pick a topic for us to talk about that would probably resonate with most people, as it's a topic that people are sometimes in short of supply of, and that is confidence. So today we're going to be talking about confidence, who needs more, and how can you go about getting it. I'm going to be offering some tips, and so are you. And so we'll just dive in here. So the concept of confidence is one certainly that we may or may not feel that when we start out in life, we are born with a certain amount of it, but in my mind, it's something that is additive, and it also can be subtractive in some ways as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about both, and focus probably, let's just say, more on the additive part, because we certainly don't want to be taking away from people's confidence. Nobody needs that. So there are processes to develop people's confidence, and that's something that we're going to chat about as well. And so let me ask you this. Have you ever been at a time in your life where perhaps you felt you wanted some more confidence?
Yeah, of course. I think everybody's been there many, many times, actually, whether you're both personally and professionally, right?
Yeah.
We've all faced challenges personally, and we all face challenges where we're unsure, uncertain, new, whatever it may be on a professional level. So yeah, I certainly have. I'm sure you have as well.
I definitely have, and probably more so, I would say, in the workforce part of
hmm
my life
hmm
than personally, because personally I'm a fairly happy-go-lucky person, so most things personally just don't bother me necessarily. But in the workforce, I found that there were aspects to it that definitely detracted from my confidence level, and that was something that I spent time working on and making sure that people couldn't take that away from me. And so there were certain things that I learned to do that we'll get into and talk more about, that I can share with you and others in terms of how I went about increasing that confidence. And, I would say prior to playing sports also, which I did a long time ago, but it was once I started playing sports that I discovered that that was one source of confidence for me. But when I stopped playing sports, I obviously had to look for new ways of going about gaining that confidence. And particularly when I started to speak publicly, and when I started writing also, those were a couple of areas where they at first may not have been a source for me for confidence, but over time certainly became contributors to helping me to gain that confidence. So, Eliot, do you have some examples of perhaps what you do personally to help yourself? And then we'll get into talking about what maybe you do for others to help them with confidence. But what are some tricks that you use?
Yeah, I mean, on the personal side, I think it's really easy, to be honest with you. And you talked about pre-sports, but if you go back to sports, whether I was playing or coaching, it's easy to go out and practice more, right?
Sure.
You can get better. You talked about additive.
Yes.
Well, additive is making your jump shot better, in my opinion. If it wasn't very good, you can have a better jump shot, have a better slap shot, be able to handle a basketball better with right hand, left hand. Those are all things that are learned behaviors, in the
Yes.
sense where you're able to go out in the driveway for 2 hours, go to the gym and practice when everybody's shooting 3-pointers.
Yeah.
You go ahead and work on your left-hand dribble if you're a right-hander, right-hand dribble, and all of those types of things. So I think we've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just found that, everybody, that saying of practice making perfect,
Yes.
it sounds so simple, but the reality is we're not going to be perfect, but it is going to make you better. And when you become better, you have more confidence. There's just no question.
Exactly. I would agree with that. And so when I think about aspects of what has contributed to making me more confident, it's definitely the writing that I've been doing. And I remember the very first time that I set out to write my first blog, and the fact of the matter was that I felt terrified more so about pushing that button to launch it out to have people see it than anything. I mean, my confidence at that point was probably very low because I was more concerned with really what people would think, because when you are a writer or when you're using this kind of format like we are, it's easy for people to be critical and judgmental. So you've got to have a pretty thick skin and not feel that, you're going to take everything personally that's coming your way. And so I would say that writing has definitely been something that's contributed to me gaining more confidence. But to your point earlier, I've had to practice, and I've been writing for years, and professionally, for a really long time also. But it still is something that I feel like I'm continuously working at.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think just real quick, Murph, I don't want to, but to just kind of jump on top of that, professionally, when you and I worked together, I came into that business. You had already been well established. I was in a totally different industry.
That's right.
I went into this building, but there was a lot of really smart people that had a lot of knowledge about things that I had no idea. And my confidence level went from here, in the industry I came from, where I thought I was pretty knowledgeable and well established, down to the bottom. I couldn't have gone any lower. I was embarrassed, and I didn't want to pick my head up, and all of those things. Easy to not look people in the eye, and because you don't want to admit, man, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here.
But you know what, that's a really good segue, because I think that in fact you can gain more confidence by knowing it's okay to ask and to admit that you may not know something, because let's face it, nobody knows everything. I mean, the fact that we have such instant access to so much information now is a wonderful thing, but it also, I think, gives us permission to not have to have all the answers all the time. They're at the tip of our fingers, literally, these days. And so therefore, it should help you to diminish any kind of concerns you have in terms of feeling like you always have to know all the answers. You don't. And sometimes, in fact, it can make you feel better and more confident if you just relax and accept that and know that it's better to say, in fact, I have a feeling I might know the answer, but I want to give you a complete answer. So let me come back to you and give you a better definition or a better answer. And I respect when people say that more. And that gives me more confidence when someone admits that I don't have all the information that you're asking me to have right now. Let me come back to you. That makes me give somebody more confidence towards their credibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I had been in an industry for 20 years, more, maybe, I think 20 years. And then to leave and go to the industry where you work together and not knowing, and then I leave there and I'm where I'm at now, 3 different industries in my career. But one thing I learned back working with you is, I think I talked too much back then, as opposed to when I jumped into this industry. One thing I learned, as you talked about, talk less, listen more, right? 2 ears, 1 mouth. We've talked about that. And ask the questions that give you the knowledge to gain confidence.
That's right.
And there's a lot of people there to help. And I've been fortunate with that.
That's really good. I would say another thing that personally has given me a lot of confidence is working with others to help instill more confidence in them, which is kind of ironic, right? Me helping others when I might not be confident about something has enormously helped me in terms of knowing that that's something that I'm very good at doing. I'm great at motivating people. I'm great at managing people. I love mentoring people. I love shepherding people on to go from, being great at what they do to excellent, as you know. And so when in fact, you're ever feeling down about yourself, not you personally, but anybody, one of the things that you can do to increase your confidence is just go do something nice for somebody. It's something that maybe you're good at. It doesn't even have to be something that you're good at. You could literally go buy them a cup of coffee and bring it to them, surprise them, and put it on their desk, or just give it to them, or do anything nice for somebody. And it's going to help you feel better, increase your confidence level. I guarantee that we both seen that and how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're doing good things and the outcome is good for somebody on the other side, it gives you that same good feeling, which then I don't know if they're endorphins, I don't know what they are, but it really kind of boosts your confidence level when you truthfully, I don't know how else to say it, I'm going to be nice here. When you're having a really crappy day and somebody does something nice for you, or you can do something nice for somebody, it sounds so simple again. And I know we're being very simple in a really challenging time, but the truth is, those are the things that actually help you move forward. And we don't want to go backwards, right? Not having confidence is a major challenge. And, coming out of it can be a problem if you don't try to move forward.
That is true. And one of the things, well, I'll share a few things with you in terms of something that I learned and that I experienced when I was in the process of gaining more confidence in my career in particular, was when I stopped doing the following things. And those following things were asking multiple people for advice on how to handle a situation. When I myself became more confident in my decision-making abilities, that's when I knew that my confidence level was in a different place. When I didn't feel the need to ask somebody for what their opinion was. Another thing that helped me to gain confidence was being able to quickly make decisions and to stick with it and to feel really good about it and not to waver on decisions, because I mean, how many people have we come across that waver on decisions, and sometimes they just want to say, just make a decision, right?
Of course.
And a lot of times they're not making it because of their lack of confidence potentially. And then another one was feeling proud about the decisions that I did make and not feeling like I had to retract from my decision of what I had stated as my answer. And then certainly having better outcomes from the decisions that I made as well, certainly elevated my confidence level as well. So let's talk about maybe some of the things that you've done to help somebody that perhaps you recognize that has a lack of confidence. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure, of course. And I think, it's easy. Again, I'll stick to the professional side of things here. You talk about managing and being able to see people. Well, it's easy on a daily basis when you work with this team of people for 8, 10 hours, 11 hours a day. You get to know them, and you get to know them intimately in the sense of when they're having a good day, when they're having a bad day, when things are going well and when they're not.
Yes.
And it's really easy to pat somebody in the back when things are going well. That's easy. Great
Yes.
job closing that deal. Well done getting that big appointment for us. Presentation looks great. The fun part for me, and I think the not even a challenge, the fun part is when you tell that somebody is lacking confidence, somebody's challenged, they hadn't got a good meeting in a while, they stumbled in the last few meetings they've been at, presentation didn't go well, they haven't closed any business, because obviously I'm talking about the sales side of things. We're in a results-oriented business.
That's right.
And numbers speak for themselves most of the time. And so, I always like to pick somebody up, and it's not like, hey, let me keep bringing you back into my office and go get a pep talk, or like you and I used to do, walking around the building and give each other pep talks.
That's right.
Let's figure out a way. Where do you think you're struggling? And let's try to, let me do this, and you critique me and tell me what you think I did wrong.
Right.
And when you get somebody to actually take a deep breath and not be so nervous and not be kicking themselves in the ass, right, so many times, that you give yourself a little bit of a break. And wow, you know how much fun it is to critique the manager, to critique the sales manager and be like, whoa, I wouldn't do that or whatever. It instills a little bit of confidence, because I could say, well, why would you recommend that? Then they give me an answer. I said, that's great thinking. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you start climbing that confidence ladder again.
That's very true.
What about you?
So I would say, start small, like I said, by making decisions and being proud of your choice that you're making. So we covered that a little bit, but realizing that only you can build up your confidence. You can't rely upon other people to necessarily do that for you. You've got to find sources of what is going to fuel your confidence level. And as I said earlier, for me, when I was younger, it was sports. When I got into the working world, I didn't have a source for my confidence. I didn't know what that was. I was very unsure about a lot of things, and I needed to find and grasp at ways to develop that confidence. So I started to understand that I was a very creative person. So people would rely upon me for my creativity and also for my sensibility and for my communication skills. So I realized that those were things that helped to fuel my confidence. So those are small things at the beginning that were added to increase that for me. I also, like to, tell people to think about what they're strong at doing, maybe outside of work. What are some contributors outside of work that can help you just overall be more confident? So whether you're, someone that likes to fix things, or maybe you're a gardener, or maybe you're a musician, or you have these other talents that you possess that maybe people don't even know about. Well, there are a lot of secret talents that people have that we've probably discovered in working with them at one point. And you go, what? I didn't know that you were,
Right.
and fill in the blank. I love that. And so I would say that, that's another thing that has certainly helped me, and that I would make recommendations for people to think about. There's some additional things that people can do also to help increase their confidence. And one of them would be to take time to tell someone or show someone something that you do to help draw their confidence out, and to give them some really interesting and credible examples so that they can potentially see themselves in a different light. I remember when, I was incredibly intimidated, like I said earlier, in terms of hitting that first button to push my blog out there into the world. And the most terrifying thing that I was concerned about was somebody giving me a negative reaction. And you know what? It never happened, which is really kind of cool. So either no one's reading it, and so therefore it didn't really matter. So there was no negative reaction to come back. But in fact, I do get lots of positive feedback from what I do write about, which is great. And we've got to learn to be our own cheerleader, and find, like I said, what fuels you and that confidence. And then we need to also take calculated risks. When we play it too safe, that's not necessarily the best place for us to be. Most people, yes, they're comfortable there. But I can tell you that really the only way that you're going to increase your level of confidence is to get out of your safe zone. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. But then the last one would be, and I stated this earlier, but I think it's worth repeating, that you need to find multiple sources for your confidence to be fueled. So let's talk a little bit more about some ideas that you might have as it relates to other contributors that you would suggest to people in terms of increasing their confidence.
Yeah, so it's really easy. And again, putting our managerial hats on, right? We put our management hats on. It's very easy to say to somebody, hey, snap out of it. Let's go.
Right.
That's the worst thing anybody could say, right?
It's dismissive. It's
of course it is. And quite honestly, do you think that person wants to be in a crappy way and really struggling with lacking confidence?
That's right.
And I think some of the telltale signs, quite honestly, Murf, are, what I have found, and it always seems to kind of just be always the same type of thing: showing up late for work, leaving early for work. Reports are kind of done halfway, not complete, because they don't want to show their sales results because they're not very good. So their confidence is down. They figure, if I don't do it, no one's going to ask me about it, or no one's going to look at it. And maybe I can get past it until I close some business and feel better about it. But some of the sources are not always, hey, making more phone calls, sending better emails, knocking on more doors in the sales side of things. Again, I think we talked about this many episodes ago, because I think this is episode 15.
It is.
Episode 15, when we talk about, you talked earlier about asking for help.
That's right.
And don't be afraid to ask for help. Well, for me, I would always say to somebody that's struggling, it's easy to come to the manager. Go talk to the team. Go talk to the people that are successful. Ask the senior team. Buy them all coffee. Take them out. Ask them where they were good, where they were bad. Ask them to give you suggestions, ideas. Ask if you can go out on sales calls. Starting to take with them and listen and watch, and starting to take the initiative and allow them to do it, starts instilling a little more confidence, like, hey, I do fit in on the team. And I think a lot of that always stems from, do I feel comfortable here in the team? Because people always try hard to fit in.
Yes.
Those are some of the things that I have always found to be a winner for me and give me more confidence. But you talked earlier real quickly about taking calculated risk.
Yes.
Okay, so let's face it. Here's what I always say, the bottom line. You can't really screw up that bad. So unless you're giving this terrible, terrible price and you're doing something really that bad, or, you really can't mess things up that bad, in the sense that you can't, work with somebody and go through it and fix it. And as you talked about, saying to somebody, you know what, I don't have the answer to that, but I'll get it for you and get back to you this afternoon. All of those things are very easy. And then you walk out of the meeting saying, man, I feel pretty good.
Right. And I always say to people, in terms of if they're nervous about taking any kind of risk, look, we don't work in an emergency room. No one's going to die based on the decisions or the actions that we're taking right now. So if you can have a mindset that, we aren't medical people, and so what we are doing isn't necessarily going to harm people, then it's a lot easier actually to take that risk. And so that will also help to fuel your confidence. So we're at the point right now, Eliot, that we're wrapping this one up. So I think we've covered a lot of ground today, and I hope that these points are going to be helpful in terms of developing greater confidence for everyone out there. So I want to just thank you for a fantastic show.
The time goes so quickly, Murf.
It does. And
I just like listening to you. I learn additive. I add things when I listen to you. So great job.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So thank you, everybody, today for tuning into Murf+E Unfiltered Zero BS Biz Talk. Please join us for many other future shows where we'll have phenomenal topics to enlighten you with all kinds of business subjects that you're just really waiting and dying to hear more about. Take care, everybody.
All right. Bye, Murf. Thank you.
Bye, Eliot.